Hello everyone, this is me, you know that. I just want to quickly talk to you about something, as I had probably one of two best days at a sort of business conference so far in my life. It was a Youpreneur conference in London by a guy called Chris Ducker. And I will link to some of his stuff in the description so you can find out who he is and what he does. But the main question to you is, how often do you actually go and attend conferences like that? And I was talking to Paulina, who's my assistant, about this the other day, and I said to her that perhaps she should attend things like that, because if I was her age, coming to this, beautiful, great country that UK is, and having the opportunity to sort of go and sit amongst people like that, for obviously for a few quid, but you can sort of make it happen if you know it's coming, if it's expense that you plan, you can make it happen. I mean, I would have been just in different place, because it's not about, don't go Tony Robbins on me, but it's not about sort of being with like-minded people or anything like that. It's also all about the knowledge that you're going to get. It's about connections that you're going to make, and it's all good to sort of pat each other on the back and say how awesome it is and how awesome it's going to be. But I think it's also sort of rubbing shoulder against someone who's actually done it. There was plenty of people there that I've met, and there are actually good people, as well as their business is sound. So I highly recommend, for anyone who is in the UK and doesn't want or cannot travel elsewhere for conferences like that, to consider going to Youpreneur conference next year. I think it's November, so it's gonna be probably grim and miserable how it was this time round as well. But we didn't sit outside, so it was fine. I think that everyone should sort of consider attending at least one, or if not more, but at least one. That's a good goal to have. One conference a year, any sort of self-development, anything that's in your niche, in your niche, that is looking at, okay, maybe self-development, maybe growing business, maybe starting, just thinking about starting a business. Maybe that's sort of a way to go. Maybe that's just for a tiny bit of expense. You can actually grow and expand the way you think and the way you sort of perceive things. So I highly recommend you going and experiencing things like that, things like conferences. So I highly recommend that. So if any of you would like to comment down below this live, what was the last sort of conference you've attended and you had the pleasure of being part of, let me know in the comments below. I also want to tell you about this sort of life after conferences like this, because I always thought I am action taker, the where I and how I grow business, and what I do in life generally is all about taking action. But sometimes when I see people at the conference or straight after, I can see that loads of them, they are just high-fiving each other. They are hyped just after the conference, and Tuesday happens, and they just back into the normal ways, back into whatever they were doing. So if you ever attend conference, there is this thing I'm doing, and I'm always, every conference I'm attending, I always sort of set that for myself, is that within 30 days, within 10 days, within 15 days, whatever your remit is, mine is 30 days, I'm actually going to do 2 or 3 things, and I'm writing them down. I put them on my phone, or I'm writing on a piece of paper, so I know what they are, and I can be reminded by myself. And some notifications. So I'm always doing that after a conference, and I'm always trying to make sure that I also ask people to do the same. So we even, after this conference, set up our own mastermind group, where we can sort of be accountable. So, you know, that's another way to find out how can you be accountable. Like, why are we not slim and, you know, chiseled and things like that? Because we eat too much and exercise is not enough. However, if we had an accountability partner, someone that we can sort of work with, someone that is that could sort of keep us accountable for what we do and how we eat and what we eat, and we track and we show them, I'm sure that our progress is going to be bigger. I've met a guy who's got a coach. Like, everyone seems to have a coach these days, and you know what? It's daunting on me that that phase is coming right at me as well. I need at some point to get a coach, because my head is spinning with ideas, and I'm always trying to sort of figure out what's best. And sometimes, if I don't write it down, I could be doing 20 things at a time in a day. So if you had a coach, for instance, maybe that would be slightly eliminated by just not focusing on dumb shit, you know. So I highly recommend you doing that as well. So attend conference, and when you do that, make sure you write down 30-day plan, like a 30-day challenge kind of thing. So I highly recommend you do that as well. So let me know in the comments below, what was the last time and what was the last conference you've attended, just for my own benefit, so I see what people are doing and what people are attending, and how do you grow whatever you're trying to grow, whether that's business, whether that's interest. You know, if you are, I don't know, collecting stamps, is there a convention or conference of stamp collectors that you can go to and sort of, you know, mingle with like-minded people? I've met people who otherwise I would not, well, otherwise those people would never reply to my emails, and they wouldn't reply to yours if you don't meet them in person. So make sure that you make that effort, go and see those people at their conferences, or at any conference where they attend. You can high-five them. There you go. Mihao is saying that he attended 2 conferences in the last 2 weeks, and I was wondering, Mihao, if it's actually, you know, was it beneficial? What was the outcome of it? What is that you planning on doing after attending conference like that? Because that's always, you know, seems to be the thing, that people are attending it and not doing anything with it. So maybe that was something that you can share with us as well if you want. And I've met people who, because what happens usually, you know, you are an influencer, you've got 1 million followers, right, or whatever, and then a random dude sends you a message saying, "Hi, my name is such and such. You know, your picture that you post on Instagram is amazing. Well done." What do you think that's going to give? You know, would the influencer give them a reply, do you think? I don't think he would, because he doesn't know them. Who the hell is that? You know, it's some sort of freak trying to strike up a conversation. But imagine if you go to the conference prior to send that message, and then send that bloke a message about something that they did or something that you spoke about. You're going to get a reply. Is that what you want? Is the reply that, you know, it could be a start at the beginning of something big. Last thing I want to share with you is that I cried a lot at this conference. I've somehow felt as if I need to get this out of my system, and I cried at probably 3 or 4 times, which I normally don't do. I'm not a crier in general, but I cried because I realized a few things. I realized that Miho just sent a message back. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'll tell you that in a second. I cried because I realized something. I realized that money gives us access. I know this. I know money gives us access. But there was a story by Matthew Kennedy, one of his speakers, and he was telling about how money gave him access. And it was so emotional because his kids were sick, and they were born sick, and his wife got cancer, and they live in Malta, but he's you know, he's wealthy, he's well off, and he was able to pay for all their treatments in London, and best specialists, the best out of the best people. They stayed in hotels for like 3 months at a time, I realized, and he said that as well, that it was all because of money. Money gave him access to do it. And I realized maybe that's what we do as well. Maybe that's why money is important. So I cried there for the first time. But I wanna say to you what Michał just said to here. We obviously talking about conferences, and he said, meeting new prospect, I had the occasion to get my award for sales, and I had a pleasure to speak to over 50 people about my experiences in online world and cryptocurrency. Well done. Money make me access to millionaires, and after that I have access to hacks and tips to become successful. It's precisely that. Like, if you didn't go to a conference, you would not meet those people, and that means in turn that you'd just be random dude that messaging them about some stuff that, you know, they've got like 22 messages a day. Like, why would they reply to you? They can only reply to you if you've built relationships with them. So never forget about that. But second time I cried on this conference was very significant. It was a guy called Pat Flynn. He was on the stage giving his talk, and he was talking about emotions and people, and why should we build tribe as an entrepreneur? Why should we have someone who follows us be passionate about this? And then he paused, and he choked, and he said, I'm even choking right now, and he said, he showed a picture of a guy of broken legs, and he said, I was just about to quit my podcast in 2012 or 2013, and the guy wrote a message to me to say not to quit because he listens to my podcast because he's got 2 legs broken, and he sits in a hospital bed and he listens to Pat's podcast. So that gave Pat confidence and resilience to sort of go and keep going. And Pat Flynn replied to him. They've been messaging each other ever since. And the guy who was on that wheelchair, on that hospital bed, said to him that whenever he's going to get ready, whenever he's going to recover, he's actually going to run a marathon. And he did. He had a 12-month recovery. He ran a marathon with some studs in his leg to keep it still. And at the finish line, he had a little poster that he carried with him throughout the run, and that poster said in Polish that he thanked the God, his wife, kids, and he thanked Pat Flynn. And obviously Pat Flynn showed that to everyone, that picture. And he had that little poster been given to that guy, or by that guy to Pat Flynn that day. So he was on the stage talking to 350 people with that poster, and he invited over to his stage the guy who done all that for him. It was a Polish guy called Michał Szafrański. Some of you may know him. I'll try to link him up as well. He's a self-publishing sort of money guru, and I didn't know that story. And I sort of know of Michał, and I know him now because we spoke. But it was, I cried a lot. I'm even now emotional now. To sort of be so resilient and to not give up when things are hard. Like, Michał had 2 legs broken, beyond belief broken, and yet he decided that he's going to run a marathon, and he's going to be, it's just unbelievable achievement. And then he never expected that Pat Flynn's going to mention him on the stage, on his keynote speech after sort of, in front of 250 people, 350 people. It was amazing. It was emotional. And the message that I want to leave you with is something that Pat Flynn left us with, is everyone that does this, that shows that is public, every one of us has got that Michał in their community. And we need to keep going. We need to keep doing that because we have got that guy in our community who maybe is quiet, maybe is silent, but boy does he need us, and I would like to leave that thought with you. to linger, because I think it's important to understand that we're not doing that for ourselves. We're doing that for others. Whatever we do, whether it's style, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether there is anything else. And you're right, Michal. All Michals are the best. All Michals are great. So, I want to leave you here. Let me know in the comments below what sort of conferences you're attending, and I'll link some of the links that people that I mentioned about in this live. So, stay stylish. Speak to you soon.